A lot of you asked me different questions on the last video that I posted on how much I charge my clients for quilting a quilt for them. I'm going to go and answer a lot of those in depth, but this one I thought was neat. I forgot to talk about this one, so I wanted to add it today. One of you guys asked me if I charge for trimming a quilt top for a client. And I wanted to answer that question and show you kind of like some perspectives of why I do it for free. Come on. I feel trimming a quilt is part of the service of quilting the quilt. And I do it for free because I'm doing a little tiny service that goes and does a lot for me. If a client leaves with a non-trimmed quilt, you have all this excess batting, excess fabric, all the basting stitches usually are on there, and it looks really bad. So it also kind of looks like your work is bad, even though your quilting would be beautiful. It was probably magnificent, but you see the mess all around it, so it doesn't highlight your work. It doesn't highlight your work at all. It makes your work look sloppy. A lot of times they're gonna go ahead, if it's not trimmed off, go home and dump it in their sew room until they have a time to get to it. But if it's already trimmed and they go somewhere, they're willing to share it and look what my quilt looks like. And then they're gonna ask you, who did that for you? Who quilted that for you? Because it's showcasing your beautiful long arm quilting work or your quilting work, and there's no mess around it. No mess around it. If you don't trim it for them, they're just gonna put it in their room and they'll get to it when they can, and it looks kind of messy. I think it does something, maybe, I don't know. I've had quilts that have sat around without the trim, without it being trimmed, and it just looks, I don't want to deal with it. I'll get to it when I want to. So if I do the trimming for them, I save them an unfun task, and then they show it off. My work looks magnificent because it's beautifully trimmed off. There's no mess around, and my client will showcase the quilt more likely and more frequently because it's already trimmed. One time a client left here with the quilt that I custom quilted for her, and she was at a restaurant and she met one of her friends, and she had the quilt, I guess, in her car somewhere, and she's like, let me show you this quilt. Of course, she showed the quilt. It was trimmed, beautifully highlighted. It was like the inside picture. There was no crap all around it. That person loved the quilt so much, he went ahead and asked her, you make me one. You make me one. And she ended up making about $1,700 off of the quilt that gave her business. So she called me, says, by the way, you're gonna quilt another one like it, just like you did. Beautiful. It gave me more work because the quilt was already trimmed. Who would have thought? Let's see how long it takes for me to trim a queen size quilt. So how much time do I invest in trimming a quilt for a client for free? Let's check it out. I also wanted to share that I don't have a lot of space. I have a very small cutting area, but I have a opening in the back so the quilt is able to fall on the back as I'm trimming it. All right, one more little trim and I'm done pretty much. So when you're running a business, I literally timed it. It wasn't even 8 minutes, and I didn't try to hurry, and I have a really small space on why I trim for free the quilt for my client. And she's going to get working on it. She's going to be more enthusiastic in binding it and finishing the quilt because I did a service that she probably don't like doing either. Yeah, bless your clients. Be good to them. They're going to come back to you because they know you're doing a task for them. Trimming a quilt is not the most fun part of quilting, right? So enjoy what you do it passionately, and do little tiny free services. Really, you want to charge $10 to $15 or $5 to $15 for 8 to 10 minutes? if you trim it for them. They'll have gratitude and appreciate you, and they know you're willing to go out of your way to bless them when you don't need to. So I got another quilt. Some of you asked me some beautiful questions, and I'm going to answer them soon. Some of you asked me some questions, and I want to go kind of like more in detail on them about this last video that I posted. I really do thank you for watching, and look at that quilt. She's beautiful. Yeah,